being underrated at all? How do you feel about their top three?
Yeah, I think the hype is well deserved, and this has been a really fun team to watch throughout the season. But one of the things that I would credit Coach Kiffin and the staff on is creating a more balanced offense that's given them a ton of success lately. I think early on, maybe a little bit too pass heavy. They've gotten a little bit more of the run game involved. When you've got Crenshaw Judkins as your running back, you might as well, right? And Jackson Dart's been impressive. The defense has improved a lot as well. So huge opportunity. They are not overlooking this week, despite A&M's record. They're an incredibly talented team. And then next week's Georgia, which is going to be the spotlight in all of college football. So it's been really fun to watch. And I think, look, I mean, they still control a lot here to where if other things happen and they continue to take care of business, they very well could be in the SEC championship and beyond.
You brought up Georgia. How do you think they'll fare next week? Obviously, that's a big topic.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia, I think, should be the #1 team in the country. They're incredibly talented, and they continue to prove week in and week out why they really might three-peat, which is almost impossible to think about in college football. So it's so hard to do in any sport, but especially in this sport. So it's going to be a tough challenge for sure, but I do think that Georgia hasn't seen an offense quite like Ole Miss's offense this season. So there are some things there. While Georgia's defense is great, as it usually is, there'll be some uniqueness to this Ole Miss team, and you just never know. You never know what can happen. That's why we play these games, and either way, I think that'll be a great back and forth.
What are your overall thoughts on the Grove and Ole Miss and getting to come here and participate in the pregame show?
Yeah, we love being here. I mean, this is one of our favorite SEC Nation stops, to have our set right in the middle of the Grove, especially for a noon game, a noon Eastern game. You just get the atmosphere, the environment that is Ole Miss, that is Oxford, the Grove, nothing like it. I mean, I tell people all the time, they'll ask me, where's the best tailgating? What's the bucket list game that you need to go to? And it always has something to do with Ole Miss for me, because I do think it's so special here.
You mentioned kind of the atmosphere. Is the VOD atmosphere something the Aggies need to take into consideration?
Totally. I mean, if that place is rocking like it can be, look, A&M has an incredible atmosphere in and of their own with Kyle Field, but when you're the road team, it's a totally different deal. So I do think I've been in there when it's been really rocking. Actually, we were here last year for the Kentucky game that Ole Miss ended up winning, and that game was extremely loud. Even that was an earlier kickoff as well. So it's actually cool. Our show's going to go inside the stadium for the last part of the show, so we'll kind of get a little bit of that feel with the warm-ups and fans coming in and getting that atmosphere ready to go, which I do think A&M will pay attention to at the very least.
What do you think Ole Miss being different things for the college football playoffs? What do you make of that, and how realistic is it that they can sneak in?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have a lot of tough games to win to get there. Next week